Clarence Caldwell's True Life Academy helps intelligent, ambitious people achieve and accomplish amazing things for the purpose of living the life they've always dreamed of. We will show you how to tap into the gifts that we all have been given. True Life Academy gives you the best possible chance of living a life full of wealth, health, love, and personal power. As a certified coach, mediator, speaker, and trainer, Clarence has the skills needed to guide you to the most amazing life you can imagine for yourself, focusing on your relationships, finances, health, and career. So join the Academy and be awakened to your true life, the life you dream of, the life that fulfills your purpose, yes, the life you were intended to live. True Life Academy starts now.
Hello, and welcome everyone to True Life Academy. This is Clarence Caldwell, your guide, your host, and your coach for the week. Thank you for joining. Welcome, hello, and good morning. Yes, it is morning. No matter what time you're listening to this, no matter where you are in the world or when you are listening to this, it is morning. If you are listening to what we are saying, you are waking up. You're waking up to your true life. So thank you for joining. Thank you for not hitting the snooze button and sticking with us, because as you wake up, you will begin to see your life the way it was intended to be seen and the way it was intended to be lived. And so I appreciate you being here. Thank you for joining. And I will also tell you that if you really want to live that amazing life that we talk about every week, I'm just going to share with you 3 things that would really, really help you do that. And we talk about it every week, so this should not be new. If you've not heard this before, take notes, because this is very important. First of all, living your life in thanks, living with an attitude of gratitude. That means being thankful even when things are not going well. I know it's difficult when you have problems in your life. That I'm saying be thankful even in those times. And I know that's tough, but there's always something to be thankful for. The life force that's running through your body right now, the life source that feeds us all, that connects us all as one. The breath you just took, that's a gift. The heartbeat that just pounded inside of you, that's a gift. Whenever you receive a gift, what do you say? You say thank you. So there's always a reason to be thankful. So live your life in thanks with an attitude of gratitude. And then secondly, give. Give when you can. It's so important to give. Give to others, because when you're giving, you're receiving at the same time. You know, we all are one, so when you're giving to someone else, you're actually giving to yourself. And we rely on that in each other, so give whenever you can. And then thirdly, because we have this power to choose, the gift of choice, love first, love yourself first, and then choose. If you've lived your life this way this past week in those 3 ways, then I know you've had an amazing week, and I know that you have made an amazing week for the people around you. So thank you for joining. Hello, welcome, and good morning to you. Now, tonight, we have a very, very special guest with us tonight. She is the author of a very well-written book. It's called Live in Wellness Now. And I'm going to introduce her to you in just a moment. Barbara B. Appelbaum is with us tonight, and I really am looking forward to having this discussion with her because, you know, beyond the book itself that talks about your wellness in terms of your health, your medical, your fitness, even a bit about your spirituality, what I found in talking with Barbara was that the conversation was even more rich than the book itself. So I just had to have her on the show tonight, and I just really, really am looking forward to our conversation, and I know you will get a lot out of our conversation tonight as well. So Barbara comes to us as a motivational speaker, a published author, certified wellness coach, and person living with MS. Barbara Appelbaum of Appelbaum Wellness is inspiring hope through mindful health and meaningful life by combining healthy living, spirituality, and neuroscience principles. She helps people understand how to be proactive in their health care versus reactionary in their sick care, so they can feel great in their body and in their life. Her greatest wish is to never hear a person say, I should be taking better care of myself. Barbara is a member of the National Speakers Association, holds 2 master's degrees, and is certified member of the International Coach Federation International Association for Health Coaches and American Association of Drugless Practitioners. She is a certified wellness coach and certified integrative nutrition health coach. She is also a consultant to the National Multiple Sclerosis Society Wellness Initiative and an ambassador for the National Multiple Sclerosis Society Greater Illinois chapter. Barbara, welcome. Say hello to our listeners.
Hello, everybody, and good evening, Clarence. Thank you so much for having me tonight. I really appreciate it.
Oh, I'm so happy you could take the time to join us, and I really, really appreciate you being here tonight.
Thank you.
So as I was reading your bio and even talking about the conversation that we had not too long ago about your book and even beyond that, I was just so fascinated, and there was such a connection with the things that you were saying to me at that time and the principles in which I live my life, and I know many of our listeners live their lives as well, that I thought this would be an absolute great medium for you to share with everyone how you live your life and how you coach people to live theirs. But before we get into that level of detail, can you tell us a little bit more about Barbara that I didn't read in the accolades of your bio? Just tell us a little bit more about
absolutely.
you.
Primarily, my background is in healthcare. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Clarence, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes.
Okay. Primarily, the majority of my career was in the business side of healthcare, and I've always been fascinated by health and wellness, as well as I got to know so many doctors throughout my work that I was always wanting to know what they did, how they did it, how they thought, how they approached things, and it was this big puzzle, and I was always fascinated by it. My job was a very high-pressure job, and so I spent a lot of hours working, and I spent a lot of hours on autopilot. Namely, I got up in the morning, I went to work, stressed myself out, got home, went to sleep, got up, went back to work, stressed myself out, and ran on that hamster wheel for quite some time. And in the blink of an eye, I got sick one day at work. Turns out, after 3 weeks of a lot of uncomfortable tests and a lot of doctors' opinions, that I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And that really opened my eyes to, wow, something's got to change. But I wanted to stay in healthcare. So I really, again, developed this interest in medicine, and I thought, what can I do with that short of going back to medical school? Because at the time I felt I was too old and too many degrees, and I also felt like being sick, it wasn't really an option. And I happened to go to a conference. I don't know if you've heard of Dr. Andrew Weil. He's kind of the father of integrative medicine.
Yes.
He was putting on a nutrition conference, and I actually had the pleasure of meeting him and spoke to him. And he suggested to me the sort of back door and suggested that I become certified as a wellness coach and an integrative nutrition health coach, which I did. So I turned my adversity into a gift by recognizing and waking up to actually living my life and helping other people do the same, and really sharing my passion and my knowledge with the world.
Wow, that's amazing. You mentioned a few things there that are very indicative of a lot of people, that we get into this mode of what you call the hamster wheel, where you're just continually going to work every day doing the same thing. And it's pretty stressful because the job isn't, typically jobs are not all that easy, but you go through this daily stress routine, if you will, and you're kind of drained, and you come home and you do it all again the next day and the next day, and you live for those weekends. But it is stressful, and it has an impact on our lives, our emotional, mental, and our physical health. But for you to have that impact on you, and it certainly wasn't work that caused it, but to discover that you had MS really was a time for you to just stop and take inventory, I guess.
Absolutely, because I was the person who would go to work first thing in the morning. You know, I'd get up. If I could, I'd work out in the morning before going to the office. I'd be at my desk by 7:30 in the morning. And sometimes my job required that I worked well into the evening because sometimes we had an event or I was entertaining a doctor and some donors or what have you. And there were times I didn't get home until 9 or 10 o'clock at night and turned around and did it all again. And everybody tends to absorb their jobs as their life. I'm sure you've heard the common work-life balance term.
Yes.
And yet, in my humble opinion, it's not work-life, because work is part of your life. It's all about a life balance, and work is part of that. And the diagnosis and the having to stop and catch my breath and recognize that I was killing myself with all the stress, and that if I didn't do something about it, my illness would be much worse. I am grateful that I had that moment to step back and say, hey, I can still have a very productive life, and work can be a part of it, but work is not all of it.
Right, absolutely. That's a it's very insightful awakening. Unfortunately, many people don't get to that point, and it becomes devastating to them in their lives. Mm-hmm. So for you to have reached that point, I sense that now you have the opportunity and even maybe a life purpose to make others aware of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I do, as a matter of fact, I do a little bunch of different lectures. And one of my lectures, I actually have a graphic of that hamster wheel and the golden carrot.
Okay, well, we'll be right back and hear more about that.
True Life Academy with certified trainer, mediator, and life coach Clarence Caldwell returns after this short break.
How's your job going these days? Stop the frustration with your career. Give yourself the advantage in breaking through to the next level. What you will need to be successful are the insights and strategies that will work for you. Hi, this is Clarence Caldwell. You know me from True Life Academy, a powerful podcast that is reaching millions of people around the world. What you may not know is that I've spent many years as an executive for some of the largest companies in the United States. Whether you're trying to break the $200,000 income barrier or just wanting a fulfilling career, our leadership mentor programs are just what you need. Visit me at clarencecaldwell.com or call us at 8883-0909-17. That's 8883-0909-17. Your time is now. Let's break through to the next level of your career.
To start rocking that woohoo that only you do? Because Lisa Stedman is on a mission. She will dare you, challenge you, enlighten you, provoke and empower you to bring out that inner woohoo. Lisa is an internationally acclaimed best-selling author. She is a breakup expert, a brand consultant, CEO of Woohoo Inc. and the Woohoo Radio Network. She will show you how to take your boohoo and turn it into woohoo. Get rebellious and get real. Get your dreams off the back burner. Get inspired and motivated to take action. Start rocking that woohoo that only you do in love, life, and business. She is going to be here for you every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. Only here on the Woohoo Radio Network.
Welcome back to True Life Academy, your source for developing the skills and motivation to create an amazing life of purpose and fulfillment. With more transformational keys for success, here is your host, Clarence Caldwell.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to True Life Academy. This is Clarence Caldwell here, and I'm here with our very special guest, Barbara Appelbaum. And Barbara, you and I were just talking about the stresses of work life, and you called it life balance instead of work balance, and because work is just a part of it, part of our lives. But you also started to say something about a hamster wheel. I'm curious, where were you going with that?
Oh, yes. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, the hamster wheel, we're all on it. It's the American way, right? We go faster and quicker, and we keep running, and we're chasing that carrot that's dangling in front of us. And because we're on this wheel, do we ever reach it? No, because it's never really good enough. It's never enough. And you as a coach and I as a coach help people understand that they are enough and that we're all perfect. I like to say we're all perfectly imperfect in our own way, and that we have to recognize that we have a life and that it's not just all about work. Work is actually a component of our life. We also have to worry about ourselves and self-care, and part of that is having fun. Part of that is eating right, exercising, going to the doctor, being proactive in all aspects so that we're balanced between the mind, body, and spirit.
Yes, absolutely. You know, I like to think of ourselves, you know, I'm very left-brained, so I like to break things down into something that's fairly logical. And the thing that works for me, and it may not work for everyone, is to see ourselves as multifaceted. First of all, we've got a lot of components to us. Some would call us a Rubik's Cube, if you will. And sometimes
I like that.
Sometimes the colors don't always line up, but there's a way to get them lined up. But we have a physical layer, a mental layer, an emotional layer, and a spiritual layer that helps us get through our lives relative to our relationships, our finance, our career, our health. And I just like the fact that you seem to bring all of those pieces together in your work. Tell us a little bit about how all that fits together for you, how your Rubik's Cube looks.
Well, and it's interesting how you picture it as a Rubik's Cube with the colors lining up, and I always like to picture it more like a wheel. And I do it if someone in your mind's eye can picture a circle that's cut into all these different pie shapes, and each shape or each section of the pie is a part of your life, whether it be recreation, your health, your work, your spirituality, all that stuff. Yeah. And then you rate each section individually between 0 and 10. How well am I doing? 0 being not so good, 10 being phenomenal. And then you connect the dots. And if it does not make a perfect circle, then your wheel is out of alignment. Right. And it's kind of like driving a car with a flat tire. You're not going to get very far. Yeah. And in life, you're not going to get very far if one thing is out of balance. And granted, most of the time, we're not completely in balance. And again, that's why we're perfectly imperfect. And it's okay. As long as we recognize it, we're aware of it, and we pay attention to it, and when it needs nurturing, we know to step in and do that. Yeah. So, for example, in my case, I end up paying more attention to my health because of the MS, because my health is the piece of the pie that's the most likely to go out of balance first. Everything else I have pretty much control over. It's the health that's the unexpected factor. So if I need a nap in the afternoon, I try not to schedule things between, let's say, 4 and 5 o'clock. And that way I have that time frame to do if I need it, and I'm not missing out on anything. Yes. I know the best part of my day is the morning, so I schedule my exercise for the morning because that's when I have my most energy. And keyword, I schedule it. I schedule everything in my life so that I don't forget to do it. and I don't ignore it. So I schedule exercise. I schedule when I'm going to do my meditation or my yoga. I schedule cooking on the weekends so that I have stuff in the fridge so that I could just pop it in the microwave and make sure I have a healthy dinner waiting for me when I'm ready.
I like that.
Yeah. And how you said you're constantly left brain and writing things down and what have you. Yeah, I'm the Post-it queen. So when I forget things, I have Post-its all over the place.
Well, if you use different colors, then it's probably pretty lively.
It is. It's fun.
I like Post-its too. In fact, I just ran out of all these little Post-its, and I was looking for some today, and thinking, I've got to go back to pick up some more. But I like the fact that you're talking about being proactive. You use the word proactive. In fact, your book uses it a lot as well, being a proactive guide to living well. And as you were describing that wellness, what you called in your book, a wellness wheel of life, I love that diagram because it easily shows you what parts of your life might be a little bit out of balance there.
Yes. And being proactive is so important. I believe as humans, we're kind of hardwired to be reactive, and we have to work a little bit and train ourselves to learn to be proactive because we don't tend to plan so much. We plan to just go.
Right.
And we do. And if something happens, great, we'll respond.
Yes.
Well, sometimes that response turns into react, and react isn't always positive. But when we plan and we're proactive, then we are responding. We're ensuring that response will be planned. And sure, there's room for surprise and fun and the occasional deviation from the path. But at least there's a sense of, I've got this, I'm in control, versus, I'm just going to sit here and wait for the world to explode.
Some people are doing that right now.
Oh, they are. and truly, I mean, my old job, it was putting out fires all the time. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'll never get ahead. Now that I'm running my own business, I don't have fires to put out. And somebody once asked me, how do you do that? And I said, because I plan.
Yes. That's very important. I think people who are in structured jobs, they recognize this. In fact, it's taught in business schools that that you must plan. If you fail to plan, then basically you're planning to fail. But
right.
in your life, it is also important. All the areas that you talked about, your health and your wellness, it's also important to plan there also. Not at the exception of not having any spontaneity in your life, but making sure that the important pieces of your life are planned.
Exactly. And it's kind of ironic that you mentioned business school and a business plan, because I always tell people that based on the business plan, I have a kind of a write your own wellness plan. Mm-hmm. And because in business school is where I learned all my planning. And I just incorporated it into my personal life and just changed some of the language. But it's still the same flow chart, still the same outline, and it works.
Absolutely. Excellent. Well, as you talked about that planning, you actually help people with that in your coaching. I can tell by your book that you certainly give them a structure in which to plan different parts of their lives. Is that where that comes from?
Yes, absolutely. And because, as I said before, a lot of people don't have that structure, and or they want it, but they have never been exposed to it, so it's unfamiliar. And so I share the structure that I learned, and I talk about it in a way that says, hey, you don't have to do it exactly like me. Take what I'm telling you and adapt it to what works for you. Because we're each different, we're each unique. There is no one cookie cutter way to make it work.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
You're one of the I'll call them slogans, or you tell me what the real terminology is for it that you use, is be present, be purposeful, and be well. Where did that come from?
Yeah, that's my motto. Well, to be truthful, it really came from search engine optimization. Because
good old SEO.
Exactly. You got to learn to market when you're self-employed. But it stems from the fact that how we think affects how we feel, and how we feel affects how we behave. In a nutshell, right? So if we're present, then we're going to be purposeful, because if we're present to our life, we're going to be more mindful, and being more mindful causes us to act in a more purposeful manner. And then, so when we're present and then we're more purposeful, we are well, because we're being proactive in our health care instead of reactive in our sick care. Mm-hmm. And wellness isn't just about the absence of disease. It's also about a balance of the mind, body, and spirit. It's about a successful life. It's about everything. Mm-hmm. And that's why sometimes you'll see health and wellness, because health and wellness are not necessarily the same thing.
Yeah. I like that, because wellness really does incorporate all of who you are.
Exactly.
I like that a lot. We think about health and wellness in terms of avoiding sickness, but it really is so much more than that when you put it that way. Mm-hmm. When you talked about, thinking what you think, you start to feel, and then you behave. I think this is really what caught me when we had our conversation not too long ago, because it is so much in line with the teach principle here of our thoughts create emotions, which create the actions.
Yes.
And the C is for choice, and H is for happiness. So this is so much in alignment with True Life Academy here that I wanted to hear your thoughts on it. And we'll do that right after the break.
Life Academy with certified trainer, mediator, and life coach Clarence Caldwell returns after this short break.
This is TogiNet, Cutting Edge Radio.
In today's business world, a helping hand or idea that doesn't come with an invoice is a treasured find. And if that happens to you, then you need to pay it forward to keep other entrepreneurs from making mistakes or getting a raw deal. It's called Paying It Forward with Josephine Girassi. Wednesday mornings at 10, 9 a.m. Central. Josephine is going to have the guests describe their accomplishments, the lessons they've learned, both good and bad, and then sharing those pieces of knowledge as we create a movement of paying it forward. For more information about Josephine, her business, and background, you can go to mymomknowsbest.com. Josephine Girassi has always been a problem solver. She saw this need and has turned it into a movement. It's Paying It Forward with tips, tools, and advice, and hard lessons learned. These pieces of knowledge can make a huge difference for you, your business, and others. So join us for Paying It Forward with Josephine Girassi. Wednesday mornings at 10 a.m., 9 a.m. Central on TogiNet.com.
Everybody. Welcome back to True Life Academy, your source for developing the skills and motivation to create an amazing life of purpose and fulfillment. With more transformational keys for success, here is your host, Clarence Caldwell.
Hello. Before we go any further, Barbara, I would love to have people know exactly how to reach you, or how to get your book, or see your material, or whatever it is that you have to offer. How can we reach you?
Okay, first they can find me by looking up my website, which is appelbaumwellness.com, and Appelbaum is spelled Appelbaum, appelbaumwellness.com. And then you can find my book on Amazon at Live in Wellness Now is the name of the book, Live in Wellness Now. And if you want to find me on Facebook, it's Appelbaum Wellness, LLC. On Twitter, it's Barb Appelbaum. And on LinkedIn, I'm Barbara B. Appelbaum. And I use my middle initial B, so if you're searching, just go to Google and search Barbara B. Appelbaum. But I use the middle initial because there's actually another author out there by the exact same name, exact same spelling. She writes about different things, and she's based in New York, and so this way it keeps us separate.
Good. I hate when that happens. She does spell her name the same way?
Exactly the same way. Someday.
I thought your spelling was so unique that would be hard to do. Oh.
Me too, but I guess not.
Well, are you related in any way?
No.
Yes. So I hope everyone got that. Appelbaumwellness.com. And Appelbaum is spelled Appelbaum.
Correct.
All right. Very good. Thank you for that.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. And we'll remind you again, before we're done here, folks, that there's a couple of ways to reach her, and we'll let you do that. So what was beyond the MS that kind of triggered your I'll call it your career change? Mm-hmm. What was the impetus behind the book itself?
Well, that was very interesting because when I first got sick and I was going through the diagnosis period, it was really interesting because so much information was being thrown at me. And being in healthcare professionally, knowing what I knew as just a human being about health and wellness, I mean, I knew enough to play a doctor on TV, I told people. Grey's Anatomy, if you're looking for someone with a walk-on, I'm your girl. But all this information was just coming at me in such a short amount of time that I had this old black spiral notebook at home. And I started keeping track. And I was keeping track of everything the doctors were telling me, everything they were guessing at. I was keeping track of all the tests. I was shoving all my discs in there, all the reports in there. I was tracking what I was eating. I was tracking when I was exercising. I was basically keeping track of everything so that if somebody said, hey, what about, I could just go through my little spiral and say, oh, I have it right here. And then, being a girl, I decided a black spiral is kind of ugly and depressing, and I wanted something pretty and uplifting. So I went to Barnes & Noble and started looking on the shelves, and all of their diaries or journals, they were blank, they were lined, they were pretty sayings, but there was nothing really comprehensive for what I needed. And then I looked online, same problem. Mm-hmm. So I thought, gee, if I can't find what I need, and I wonder how many other people would benefit from what I need, I'm just going to create it myself and put it out there. And then I went one step further and not only made it pretty, but I made it useful in the sense that the pages are color-tipped, so you can easily find each section that you need without having to go through the whole book. And the size is such that it'll fit in a purse or a briefcase. So when you go to the doctor and you have to fill out all that paperwork, you just turn to your medical section and there's all your information of your health history, your family health history, and you don't have to remember anything because it's right there. Excellent.
Yes, I think it's very, very helpful. I like the way it's put together.
Thank you.
I encourage anyone, I track a lot of what I do. I track almost everything I eat, and almost to a point where people think I'm obsessed. But I just track, my protein and carb and fat intake and calories, and I also, track my workouts, my exercises. But I am really not capturing them anywhere. I just make sure for this day I know what I've got to do, and I do it. But I like this setup that you have here, which will really allow me to begin tracking it over a longer period of time. And beyond that, not just my intake and my exercise, but your medical background, your conversations with doctors, all these other pieces that are very, very important as well.
Right. I mean, how many times do you think, oh, I want to ask my doctor this? And then you get to your appointment, and then you come home, and you're like, oh, darn, I forgot. Yes. And so I put a section in there, questions to ask my doctor, and then places to write the answers. And then you mention you track what you eat. Some people are trying to lose weight. Some people are trying to determine if they're allergic to something or sensitive to something. So I help you figure it out. And I give an example of how to fill it out. And it's basically a diary. And you can use it for losing weight, or you can use it just for saying, hey, I want to make sure this is what I'm doing. And it helps us to stay accountable. And even though we're only reporting to ourselves, I think we're our own worst enemy and our strictest confidant and all of the above when it comes to being accountable. So we can really help ourselves, and this helps do it.
Excellent. That's absolutely true. It does take a little bit. If you're not used to doing that, it's like anything else. It takes a little bit of practice. Habits are, what did you say? Habits are made in 30 days and they stick with you in 90. I think I read that in your book as well.
Yes, 30 days to create a habit, 90 days to make it stick. At least that's what research shows.
Yes.
And personally, that's what I have found too.
Yes, well, it's a good habit to get into is to watch not just your health, but your overall wellness. I like that part because it goes beyond the physical health. I mean, you even talk about the spirituality. Say a little bit more about that piece.
Well, one component about it that resonated with me when you were starting your show is that attitude of gratitude. It's recognizing that there's a power or an energy greater than us as an individual, and that we need to be grateful for everything that we have and everything that we are. I mean, especially for me with MS, when I get out of bed in the morning, I'm grateful I can put my feet on the ground and stand up. I'm grateful that I wake up.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people get so wrapped up in their lives, they forget about being grateful, even for the small things. And by becoming more spiritual, more introspective, we become stronger and we become, again, more present, which makes us a better person. Mm-hmm. Plus, also with spirituality, there's a lot of research being done that through meditation and or prayer, that if you practice it on a regular basis, they're proving through MRI studies that it actually increases the gray matter in the brain. And it also helps with neuroplasticity, which is a way of our brain which is malleable to generate new synaptic pathways for those that may have been damaged by either illness or injury or aging.
Yes. Oh, that's so important. The last month or two, I have met people who just specialize in this brain work, mm-hmm. and the comments are very, very consistent with what you just said. And it's like a year ago I didn't even recognize this as an issue, but you can absolutely change your brain by the things that you do in terms of getting closer to your spirituality and what you think, and the meditation, the prayer. All of those things can lead to a physical change in the connections within your brain.
Absolutely, because in essence, it's taking you out of your left brain and into your right brain, and it's forcing the brain, which is, in essence, let's think of it as a muscle. It's challenging it, it's working it, it's toughening it up, and it's making it grow.
Yes. Very, very insightful. Thank you for that.
Sure.
As you also talk about being present, when people are about their day-to-day and they're stressed out, whether they're thinking about, well, what's going to happen in the meeting that I'm going to? Are we going to hit this project on time? Are we going to come in under budget or over budget? Or whatever the issues are, there's a certain amount of worry that's associated with what might happen or what might not happen. That's the future. And then there's this other piece of regret and I guess living in the past. Mm-hmm. But when you live in the present, that's where your true power lies, and that's where the spirituality engages with you.
And so that's what I'm taking away from what you were just talking about.
Yeah, well, as they say, yesterday was history and tomorrow never comes, but today is the present, and that's why it's a gift.
Yeah, I like that. This is a season for giving gifts. So let's give one to ourselves. It's called the present.
Yeah, and it's funny because I am one of those people who, oh my gosh, Clarence, I used to be such a worrywart. I still do have that worry in me, and it can easily come and be very loud in my head. But I remember my assistant used to tell me, stop worrying so much. And when she said that, I was like, wow, do I really worry that much? And it made me think. And so when those all start to creep up, a great trick for your listeners to try, and it's super simple, is take a deep breath. Slow in, hold it for a second, and slow exhale. And while you're taking this deep breath, think only one thing. Focus on the word when you're breathing in, inhale, and then hold for 2 seconds, and then focus on saying the word, whether to yourself or out loud. Exhale as you're breathing out. Because our thoughts go all over the place. Yes. And if we can just focus in on inhale, exhale, just a couple times, deep breaths, maybe 3-5 times, and then just think about it and think, hey, deep breath, relax, I got this.
Love that. Thank you for that. I've talked to many people about meditation, and they get so wrapped up in trying to clear their minds, and you can never really completely clear your mind. But the first exercise that's taught in meditation is to pay attention to your breath. So for you to just walk us through that very basic thing is the first step to really having an impact on our emotional state and even our spiritual state. Thank you for that.
Absolutely. You're welcome.
Well, we're going to take our final break, and then we'll be back with Barbara Appelbaum, and we will talk a little bit more about some of the things you can do to really live in the present and be purposeful and be well. We will be right back.
Life Academy with certified trainer, mediator, and life coach Clarence Caldwell returns after this short break.
In today's business world, a helping hand or idea that doesn't come with an invoice is a treasured find. And if that happens to you, then you need to pay it forward to keep other entrepreneurs from making mistakes or getting a raw deal. It's called Paying It Forward with Josephine Girassi. Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m. Central. Josephine is going to have the guests describe their accomplishments, the lessons they've learned, both good and bad, and then sharing those pieces of knowledge as we create a movement of paying it forward. For more information about Josephine, her business, and background, you can go to mymomknowsbest.com. Josephine Girassi has always been a problem solver. She saw this need and has turned it into a movement. It's Paying It Forward with tips, tools, and advice and hard lessons learned. These pieces of knowledge can make a huge difference for you, your business, and others. So join us for Paying It Forward with Josephine Girassi. Wednesday mornings at 10 a.m., 9 a.m. Central on TogiNet.com.
Everybody. Are you ready to start rocking that woohoo that only you do? Because Lisa Stedman is on a mission. She will dare you, challenge you, enlighten you, provoke and empower you to bring out that inner woohoo. Lisa is an internationally acclaimed best-selling author. She is a breakup expert, a brand consultant, CEO of Woohoo Inc. and the Woohoo Radio Network. She will show you how to take your boohoo and turn it into woohoo. Get rebellious and get real. Get your dreams off the back burner. Get inspired and motivated to take action. Start rocking that woohoo that only you do in love, life, and business. She is going to be here for you every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. Only here on the Woohoo Radio Network.
Welcome back to True Life Academy, your source for developing the skills and motivation to create an amazing life of purpose and fulfillment. With more transformational keys for success, here is your host, Clarence Caldwell.
So, Barbara, as we were talking about really taking real good care, proactive care of our wellness, mind, body, and soul, the mind, body, and spirit. I know you work with several people, and certainly you don't have to name names, but I know you've worked with some organizations, and they've said some really fabulous things about what you've done with them and for them. Can you share some of that?
Sure. Thank you for asking that. I do guest lecture at Canyon Ranch in Tucson, Arizona, and many of their guests find what I talk about very helpful, very inspiring. They feel it's very authentic and clear so that they can live their best lives and have stuff they can really take home and use. I mean, how often, Clarence, do we sit in a lecture or listen to a telecall and go, okay, sounds well and good, but yeah, not really practical, right? Right. And so the feedback I've gotten is it's practical. And I've done a lot of speaking for different self-help groups with the National MS Society. And, in MS land, everybody is affected differently. So it's not like I can give one message that you have to do X. That doesn't work. But I can give the one message that says, look, this is how we are. And so keep this in mind. And these are tools you can use and do. And here's how, and try. And people respond to that. And they think, wow, I have hope. So I inspire hope in them. And they've all come back and said, that it inspires them to know that they can lead their journey in a very healthful manner.
Excellent. I like the fact that it's so straightforward. Many of the people that do put on conferences and webinars, etc., you listen and you think, okay, it's pretty deep stuff. I kind of understand it, but then you walk away, well, what do I do now? Fairly empty. Right. So, yeah, you're being able to bridge that gap is very powerful.
And what's really cool is there was a woman who attended one of my vision board creation lectures where we talked about learning how to become present, different ways in which to do that. And then once you're present, then what do you do? And we talked about setting intentions. And then we talked about creating a vision board. And we actually sat down and made vision boards so people went home with something tangible. And this gal loved it so much, she took it to her boss. And her boss happened to work at J. Jill, or is where she was working. And they ended up incorporating it into their employee training program for their division.
Wow.
And I thought, oh, my God, that's so cool. Yeah. And talk about paying it forward, right?
Yes. That's pretty big, actually, because typically in companies, that's something they would not even attempt to address.
Right. They typically don't. And I was just I was so elated to hear that here's a company who cared enough about their employees to say, okay, we're going to take a moment and do a workshop that helps them figure out who they are, what they want, so they can be the best when they show up every day to come to work for us.
Excellent.
And that's the way it should be.
I agree. As I do coaching of executives and middle management who have the ability and who have the authority to bring things like that in, that is a very tough sell in many cases. So it's often, I'm often left feeling, if we really didn't get to the root of the issues, we just talked about business issues, but that's really where the work needs to be done. And that's, I'm on a new mission to integrate that world somehow into the business arena. So anything you're doing in that world, I'm going to just pay attention to and learn from.
and vice versa, because I agree. It's so important. It sounds so cliche, but a happy employee truly is a better employee, and a healthier employee is a better employee. I mean, when I was in corporate America, I can't tell you how often people had a cold or didn't feel well or were depressed or so stressed out they were sick and they were not that productive. And frankly, you don't have to work long hours to be productive. You have to be happy. You have to want to be there. You have to have your brain firing on all cylinders. Yes. And that is, you got to show up, basically.
Right.
And that's what I help teach people to do, is to how to show up in your life.
I'm just going to write the words right here on this piece of paper. Show up. That is it.
That's the name of the game.
That's the name of the game. Show up. Be present.
Yes.
That's so very important.
Well, it's funny because during our commercial break, there was some really good music, and I'm thinking, time to get up and dance, and get all the juices flowing. And I'm reading Shonda Rhimes' new book that just came out, and she's the producer and writer of Grey's Anatomy, How to Get Away with Murder, and all of that. And she writes about dancing it out, and I'm thinking, that's what life should be about: showing up and dancing it out.
Right. It's really powerful, even when you don't feel like it, and you just say, "I'm going to do it. I'm just going to get up and I'm going to move, and I'm going to create that physical space that allows me to walk into it emotionally." And it's amazing how infectious it is to yourself that you can really shift the energy that quickly.
Absolutely.
Love that. Show up. It's a good one. As you were talking about employees and the fact that they get sick and they're really not as productive as they can be, and there's so many things that can be done to change that. Unfortunately, what I have found, and I think it's changing as we become more aware and as the world begins to wake up. But what typically happens is that there's this issue of motivation that comes from the top down. It's either the threat of something bad happening to your job, you'll be written up or you'll be fired, or it's the promise of a reward. You'll get a bonus, or it's either the carrot or the stick.
Right.
And the motivation is external. It's outside of that employee. And what I'm hearing you say is that, and I'm paraphrasing, is that there's something that has to come from within them that's more of an inspiration versus a motivation.
Absolutely. Because you and I both know a good leader doesn't lead by cracking the whip or hitting with a stick or offering the carrot reward. A good leader is passionate, motivational, inspirational, kind of the Pied Piper per se. Yes. And it's setting the example. I always say, be the example you want to see. Be the change you want to see. And that comes from within. And that's all about, again, that's wellness, that's passion. You don't have to love what you do, because not everybody can love their job, unfortunately. But that's a fact of life. Right. But you can shift your thinking to love your life.
Yes.
And again, work is part of that life, and so embrace that work, because I may not like what I'm doing per se, or maybe who I'm working for, but that work provides for me. That gives me the rest of the life, or affords me the rest of the life that I want to live.
Right.
So it's a matter of how you show up. Again, showing up.
Yes. Well, you're just point on when you say that, because it's about not what you're doing, it's about who you are when you're doing it. And if you're loving yourself, I mean, even if you're digging a ditch and you hate digging a ditch, but you love your life and you love who you are, then you're going to bring the joy to everything that you do, and you will show up. You'll be there. You'll be inspired. You don't have to wait for that whip to crack or that carrot to be thrown in front of you.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, in the limited amount of time we have left, let's one more time let people know how to reach you, how to get your book, how to get your services, your workshops, whatever it is that you offer.
Well, thank you. The book, again, it's called Live in Wellness Now, and it's available on Amazon. And then you can find me at my website, which is appelbaumwellness.com. And Appelbaum is APPELBAUM. wellness.com. And then I'm all over Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter at Appelbaum Wellness LLC, Barb Appelbaum, and or Barbara B. Appelbaum. And if you don't remember any of that, just Google Barbara B. Appelbaum, and it will all show up. I'm the first, 8 pages of Google if you Google Barbara B. Appelbaum.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's a good SEO going there. It's just,
I try really hard.
I'm going to have to take a lesson in that, so people don't have to search very hard to find True Life Academy. Well, Barbara, it has been an absolute pleasure, an absolute joy talking with you, as I knew it would be. Very insightful, very uplifting. Thank you so much for your time, for your efforts, for your energy, for the work that you do, and sharing that with us tonight. Really, really appreciate and honor the work that you do.
Oh, thank you, Clarence. I believe our messages are so in sync with each other, and it has been such an honor and a joy to be a part of True Life Academy this evening. And I really thank you for reaching out and giving me the opportunity to share my message with you and your listeners. It's been a sheer pleasure.
Absolutely. Okay, one tip, just one quick tip for everyone. What would it be if you gave it to us right now?
Oh, my goodness, you're putting me on the spot.
Yeah, 30 seconds.
30 seconds, one quick tip. Just breathe and tell yourself, relax, you've got this. Just say that. Just 1, 2, 3. Relax. I've got this.
I've got this. Oh, that is very powerful. Thank you for that. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I knew you'd come up with it. Because you're right there. You're living in it. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining again at True Life Academy. Remember, this week coming up, live in thanks. Live with an attitude of gratitude. And because you have this power to give, I want you to give. When you're giving, you're receiving at the same time. And you also have the power to choose. Love yourself first, and then choose, and you'll have fewer regrets. We look forward to talking to you again next week. Take care, everyone.
Thank you for joining us on today's True Life Academy. Certified coach, trainer, and motivational speaker Clarence Caldwell returns next week at this same time to share his keys to success to help you achieve the life you dream of. Yes, the life you were intended to live.